How we doing? My name is Ryan B. Hebert, and welcome to my Series 7 Teams and Core video series. My first guest on this series is none other than the KortexVGC, otherwise known as Nate Ortiz. Nate, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well, Ryan. How's it going?
We're doing really well. I'm so glad I could get you on, and as the first person with this series here, I had an initial series of videos where I was having people give their predictions, and then eventually the format finally arrived. Lots of exciting stuff has been going on. We just finished Players Cup 2 finals. So much has been going on, and I know you've been dominating just all these grassroots events hosted by several creators and different organizations online. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been playing VGC for? Any social media to share with the folks that they can follow you at? Like, who are you?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Well, my name's Nate Ortiz. I started officially VGC this year in terms of going to live events. I've only been to two major tournaments so far. I've been to Dallas and Collinsville. I top cut both. In Dallas, I got 10th, and in Collinsville, I got 7th. So I was really happy about those results for my first year. I was sad to see live events get canceled after that because of the whole COVID thing. I was really hoping to go to a lot of regionals and perhaps an international event later on in the year, but maybe next year for sure. But I've been playing online tournaments, a few of them since the closure of official events. Sadly, I didn't get the chance to participate in either of the Players Cup tournaments just because my weekends are really packed, and so I wasn't able to enter into the qualifiers. But I have been pretty active, relatively online. I've played a few tournaments. The last 4 tournaments that I entered online, I actually made it to the finals, winning one of them. And so I've been pretty happy with my results so far going into the team. Um, Although I started officially playing VGC in terms of going to tournaments and participating more this year, I have been playing a little bit of VGC kind of in the past years, off and on. I officially started really looking into it in around VGC 2012, 2013, but I didn't really start playing until later on in 2015. But this is the first year I've taken my plunge into the VGC, um, the serious tournament scene. You asked me for my social media. On
Yes.
Twitter, I'm just KortexVGC. Pretty easy.
Beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that a little bit about yourself. It gives a good background into who you are, what you've been to, what you've been up to. So I appreciate that so much, Nate. Let's get started getting into the video here. Nate, you've played with a lot of different teams in Series 7, but what team or team core is your favorite team to play with in this series?
One of my favorite cores, Ryan, right now that I have been using ever since Series 7 first came out, is a core that involves a faster mode and a slower mode. The success that I had previously when I top cut the regionals and I played against some of the best players like, Ashton Cox, Yuri, Aaron Trailer in
Mhm.
Dallas. I would use a core that revolved around just a couple or a few slower Pokemon in Trick Room, and then I would have a couple faster ones, and I felt like that really worked out well for me. It gave me some versatility. I would usually have some bulkier, slow Pokemon, and then some faster ones for just an alternate mode. And that's kind of what I've done with Series 7 as well. I've used a Trick Room port centered around usually one setter, like Porygon 2 or Dusclops, and then
Mm.
one heavy sweeper. Originally, I started using Glastrier, so I thought it was really strong. And as the metagame developed and as people found more answers for it, I actually figured, actually, I saw a lot of potential in slower rock type Pokemon. I actually tried out Stakataka for a bit. That was pretty good. Tyranitar, and right now I'm actually using Regirock as my
Okay.
Trick Room Sweeper. And Regirock's really great right now. I think it's in a great position. It has a good matchup against Glastrier, against a lot of the common Pokemon, Moltres, and the clear body effect is really good just because it can't be intimidated on. And when you pair it with like something like Tapu Fini, it can't be burned either.
Mm.
So that's the Trick Room core that I'm using. And then I'm also sticking to my tried and true alternate fast mode. And for that, I've been using Moltres. I think Galarian Moltres is very strong. Um, every good result that I've had so far has been with a Galarian Moltres on my team. And you can see how successful it's been based on its usage in the Players Cup too recently, and then Wolf's amazing win with Galarian Moltres as well. I've used Weakness Policy and Life Orb, and I've often paired it. I originally paired it alongside a Lightning Rod Raichu, but now I think there's a lot of value in Regieleki and setting screens. So I've been messing around with Grimmsnarl and Regieleki in that slot because it can also provide support for the bulkier side of the team, which is often the setter and then the Trick Room sweeper like Regirock.
Extremely well said, Nate. I truly appreciate it. And I know you've been a big fan of Galarian Moltres, one of the Pokemon featured above me here on the layout for you today as well. So, we can truly see how much you love this Pokemon. But yeah, really well said. I think this slow and fast mode type of team is a really solid way to just kind of be ready and prepared to deal with any type of team that you may be facing in the Series 7 VGC metagame as of right now, especially when other trainers are using Pokemon like Colossal, which can really work well under a slow mode, but also work really well in a fast mode, having its ability Steam Engine proc and giving it, +6 right off the bat right away, which is what Wolfie Glick was doing with his PC2 team and what many other trainers have done as well. So there's a lot to be had with that. And, you've already kind of explained some of the history you've had with this team previously already in this video, which is really nice because that was my next question. You've kind of explained and gone over how, you've used these to your success and that you've kind of found different Pokemon to fill the roles of this team, which is really interesting. It's a great way to think of team building. Essentially, it's a great way to think that team building is not always about specific Pokemon, more so it's about filling specific roles. And I think you and Ashton Cox are very similar in that team building style. Way back in 2017 2018 when I was first getting into the scene, I had the opportunity when I was really new to ask Ashton, hey, how do you team build? And for him, he at the time he was talking about, I like to build sort of around moves. I like to build around what my team will do and how it's going to do it. And by kind of following around in those footsteps, you're talking about how, well, if I have someone to set up Trick Room and maybe another Pokemon to like really take advantage of Trick Room and maybe a good fast mode with another Mon that may use screens or something like that, it's kind of in the same vein. And I find it really, really interesting that, that it's an excellent way for trainers to think, especially when they're team building, that takes away from the idea that like you need to be using certain Pokemon. Obviously, there are better Pokemon in a series. That's why we have people using things like Pikalytics.com or even BabiriBerry.net, or just even like looking at teams from previous tournaments and looking at data statistics and usage statistics overall. But it's just a great way to kind of mix things up and to keep yourself open to kind of discovering new things overall. I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing your favorite team / core with us. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this series, or maybe what you're looking forward to in a new series upcoming? We don't know what's coming next yet, but I know people are looking back towards Ultra Series and like 2016, so to speak. Do you think that's on the horizon? If so, maybe there's a legendary Pokemon you're excited to use as a Dynamax Mon.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that. I'm excited for a GS Cup too. I've never played in a restricted cup, so I'm sure it's entirely different format. But I've definitely looked at past videos of old restricted formats and watched the World Championships and things like that. And so I have an idea of what to expect, but I'm sure that it's completely different now with Dynamax and weakness policy and just so many more strong mechanics and things like that that are introduced now. And I think regardless of the format, I mentioned you mentioned a little bit about team building earlier, and I think it's always important to have a really balanced team. In my teams, I always like to make sure that there is a very wide assortment of types, that you always want to have switch-ins for the things that your Pokemon are weak to. I think things that are versatile like Intimidate, Taunt, Speed Control, those are always great to have. And then screens, I've really been liking particularly recently. So I think it's I agree with what you said earlier that you have to have something that's really adaptable and like you build your team around what you want it to do.
Well said, Nate. Thank you so much for coming on today for the first episode of Series 7 Teams and Cores. Folks, be sure to follow Nate at KortexVGC on Twitter.com. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you are enjoying it so far. And there will be more Series 7 Team and Core videos coming at you soon with some different creators and folks in the community. Stay tuned.